Hey everybody, the doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. I'm back and today's video is going to be about one of my favorite subjects, vampires. Now, granted, I have learned to love werewolves and I do appreciate some werewolves, and there actually will be a werewolf video coming up in the not too distant future. So if you guys follow me on Facebook, I did ask a question about some really good werewolf books out there for a reason. Anyway, all right, let's deal with our canine brothers and sisters. But before I do, let me give you the story as to why vampires mean a lot to me. And I've told this story before, so I'm going to tell it again. So kick back, relax, grab some tea, and let's go. So it was, oh gosh, I think I was 13 years old back in Memphis, and I was sick. I think I had like a cold or something. And I just had no energy to do anything. And my mom said, well, I just recorded this movie on Betamax. Yes, I just dated myself. It's called Fright Night. And I was like, what's it about? And she said, well, it's about vampires. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know. She's like, no. This one's different. He's a modern vampire. It's very modern. And I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. So I watched it and I had nightmares. And literally a week or so later, I started reading every book I could get my hand on about vampires. And I even wrote a paper in school about vampires, about Dracula, the book. I also claimed to have over 300 vampire books at one point in my life. And sadly, that collection is long gone. And it was also my gateway into my way of role-playing. A lot of people did the whole Dungeons and Dragons, but I did Vampire the Masquerade. And I was actually part of Clan Ventru in college. And actually I think it was like the year after the game first came out was when the group on the school grounds invited me to be a part of the group. And then I got into goth and the rest is history. But I actually have this. This is one of my t-shirts during Vampire the Masquerade. And that's actually a a gangrel, my bad. That's a gangrel. And the gangrels were the ones who were the closest to the beast. So they had like the tolerant relationship with werewolves. But yeah, this is one of my favorite t-shirts. I haven't worn it in a while because I'm actually just trying to preserve it. But so I have that. And then sadly, and I feel like such an idiot, I got rid of all my gaming books, which I know you're never supposed to do, but it was a long story and I really don't want to go into it. But I do still have my clan book Ventru. These were all the blue bloods, the wealthy people of society. And I just remember when we would have our games on, I think it was Friday night, I would haul all my goth CDs and my books, and I would go from one end of the campus to the other. I went to American University in Washington, D.C. And so I met up with all my gaming friends on the opposite side of campus, and we were all gothed out, and we played our music. And I remember all of the the so-called normal kids looking in on us going, what are they doing, those black-clad people? Ugh, weird. But it was a great part of my life, and it introduced me to so many subjects and passions and likes of mine, including vampires. So that was just a little bit about my past history. So let's get to reviewing some books. First, I have said this repeatedly, I feel terrible for waiting so long in purchasing some of my friends' books and then reading some of my friends' books that I had for years, but I am changing that. And actually, little side note, this is the purpose of Viridian Tea House, not only to talk about tea and what's going on with the tea industry and meditating and things like that, but to also shine a light to my fellow writers and creative people out there. You know, I know that they have their own publicity and their own marketing and things like that. I just want to add my own voice to a plethora of damn good writers. I have not had a bad experience yet. And even if I did years ago, it's just because I was in a different mindset. And I'm finding that when I go back and reread certain books, it's like, oh my God, now I get it. This book is phenomenal. So anyway, to the side. I am friends with this first author. I think she lives in St. Louis with her husband, and I know her husband is really, really into Godzilla. I think that's awesome. I'm a King Kong fan myself, but I bought this book in 2015, and I'm just now reading it, which is like 7 years later, but the wait was worth it. This is Nocturne Infernum by Elizabeth Donald. This is 3 different stories regarding the club. Oh goodness, I forgot the name of the club. Nocturnal Urges, that's right. Staring at me right in the face. But these 3 stories deal with this club, Nocturnal Urges. And so let me just give you the background, then I'll read from the book. But basically, it's all set in Memphis, Tennessee. But yet it's an alternate version of Memphis, Tennessee, in which vampires are second-class citizens. And they can't marry humans. They don't have legal rights. They're seen as just kind of fodder or slaves or something to get your rocks off. And with Nocturnal Urges, humans can go into this club and get bitten by vampires to have that experience. Let me just say, let me get this out of the way. So I fled through this book. I flew through it, not fled, I flew through it, excuse me. And I noticed that every time I read it, I would always get hot flashes because Elizabeth the erotica was just amazing. It truly was. In fact, a couple of times my boyfriend looked at me and was like, "Are you gonna be okay?" Because I would just be like, "Ooh, let me put the book down for, just give me a minute." But anyway, let me read the back of it for you. Nocturne Infernum. In this alternate Memphis, vampires are a dark underclass whose bite offers pleasure and pain in one sweet kiss. Humans take advantage of the pleasures vampires can provide, but call them friends, lovers. The strain between human and vampire grows as death rises in the streets. So the first story is called Nocturnal Urges. The second is called A More Perfect Union. And the third is called Abaddon. I hope I'm saying that right. Let me just say for the record that I didn't really know what to expect, except it was going to be about vampires. The sex scenes were incredible. The twists were incredible. The characters were lifelike or unlifelike. You get what I'm saying. This was one hell of a book, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. And I know I always say I thoroughly enjoy reading all my books, but I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. So much so that I always like to read at work at Crate and Barrel, and several of the people that I work with are bookworms as well. So I was running around telling people, "Do you like vampire porn? Do you like vampire erotica? You really need to read. It's not really porn, but you like vampire erotica." And I remember my boss, who's really cool, was like, you're running around here talking about vampire erotica. I was like, it was a good book. This, if you're into vampires or really good erotica or just well-told stories about Memphis, Tennessee, Nocturne Infernum by Elizabeth Donald, published through 7th Star Press. You need to buy this book. Buy it. And because of me gushing all over it, I'm giving it the Viridian Tea House 5 cups of tea. Job well done, both the 7th Star Press and to Elizabeth. I really, really enjoyed it, and I had many hot flashes. So thank you very much for that. So Nocturne Infernum, 3 stories in 1 by 7th Star Press. So the second book I want to talk about is written by a friend of mine, and it's a graphic novel. It's still a book, but it's, again, one of those things where, why did I wait? Why did I wait to purchase this? Why did I wait? Long story short, I purchased it. I devoured it. I want more. This is my friend Kurt Amacker's graphic novel called Dead Souls. This one is Resurrection. This is regarding Vlad Dracula and Elizabeth Bathory. in New Orleans. Let me just say, when I am chomping at the bit in a food court in a mall, trying to read the last 5 pages of a graphic novel, you got me hooked. I didn't see this coming. And what I mean by is this. Everybody knows Vlad Dracula. Everybody knows Ursa Bathory, the Blood Countess. Everybody knows those 2 stories. And yet, with what Kurt does, he changes them just a little bit. And I have to say this was the darkest philosophical book I've ever read in my life. And I know that there are tons of dark philosophical books out there, and I do need to read them. This, I was not expecting it to be so philosophical. It made me question a lot of things. And when the ultimate twist was revealed, because, well, early for me, because my hand accidentally opened to the end and was like, oh, please tell me this is not what I think it is. I devoured this graphic novel. Fantastic work that really makes you think about good and evil and what those words really mean, and how perspective is everything, and how one person's perspective is radically different than another's. Taking all that to the side, this deals with prostitution, killing people in the worst possible way, people who cannot die, what happens to evil people in history. And also, this has an introduction by Danny Filth, who is the lead singer of Cradle of Filth, which actually, funny thing, Kurt, if you're watching this, so when I started reading this last night, I'll admit, there's a lot of music I have not listened to, and Cradle of Filth was one of them. Like, I'd heard of the band through Kurt and just because of, you know, the kind of music I listen to anyway, but I'd never actually listened to the band itself. So I pulled up one of the CDs on Amazon and I started listening to it, and I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, oh yeah, this is my kind of music. So again, Dead Souls Resurrection, written by Kurt Amacker, and this was published through Dark Notes Press, which is actually Kurt's publishing house, if I remember correctly. He's got one book out called Bloody October. I was going to put it on this particular video, but it can wait for another time. Other graphic novels, in fact, one of them that's actually being turned into a movie. Kudos to you, Kurt. So for Dead Souls Resurrection, published through Dark Notes Press, I give it the Viridian Tea House 5 cups of tea. I loved the story. I loved what he did with Vlad Dracula, Elizabeth Bathory, and other historical characters that when you buy the book, you'll recognize very much so and very quickly. And I love like I said, the philosophical note to it. It made me think, and aside from all the gore and the killing and the who did this and who did that, and oh, it's just in New Orleans. Great story. And I actually reached out to him once I finished it, and I was asking him, you know, for more. I hope that there will be more stories with these 2 characters, but if there aren't, that's okay. The cliffhanger, it's a cliffhanger, but it's a good one. It's one that will leave you satisfied. So I really don't want to go too much into it, but I will read the back of it for you. Let's see. Vlad Dracula, Elizabeth Bathory, alive and in New Orleans. May 2001. 2 of history's most notorious murderers are alive, immortal, and stalking the streets of the Crescent City. They don't know why, they don't know how, but after a disastrous act of violence, they find themselves in the middle of a war between a shadowy global conspiracy and a divine vigilante. With the police on their trail and enemies on all sides, can they ever learn the truth of their rebirth? The cult comic hit by Kurt Amacker returns in a stunning graphic novel featuring a revised and expanded author's cut story, new art by Montgomery Borer, cover by Dan Barrington, and a new introduction by Cradle of Filth vocalist Danny Filth. Plus interviews, photographs, and a long out-of-print short piece and immortal interlude. So once again, Dead Souls Resurrection, written by Amacker, gets the 5 cups of tea from Viridian Tea House. Job well done. Really enjoyed it. So, in getting to the tea portion, I thought, okay, what tea would be good for vampire books? And I thought, well, you know, I've got Elmwood, which is made inspired by Elmwood Cemetery. I've got Goth Librarian, which was the first tea blend I ever made for this company, reminiscent of my goth days. And then I thought, you know what would really work? One of my rooibos blends, Colorado Sunrise. Because I thought that's a perfect tea for a vampire to drink. This is made with rooibos, which is also known as honeybush, and it is caffeine free, dried cranberries, hibiscus, and ginger. So I've let this sit long enough because I do tend to talk a lot. So in my lovely black cup for all the vampires out there. I'm immediately getting a good mash of hibiscus and the ginger. The cranberries are way in the back, and the rooibos is just kind of the base that keeps everything afloat. That's the best way for me to put it. Now, as I get deeper into the cup of the tea, I'm noticing that the ginger is coming out a little bit more because my tongue is tingling. So with rooibos or any herbal tisane, I try to tell people to let it steep between 5 to 7 minutes. This I actually let steep for about 5 minutes because I wanted some tea. But I've noticed that anytime I put hibiscus in any of my tea blends and then steep it, it turns a beautiful, beautiful deep red color. So unfortunately you can't see it because of the black cup, but just imagine blood red tea. That's really, really good. That is quite good. Okay. So yes, I am drinking a cup of Viridian Tea Company's Colorado Sunrise Herbal Tisane, which once again, it is rooibos, dried cranberries, hibiscus, and ginger. And for those of you who are sensitive to caffeine, there is no caffeine in this whatsoever. I know some of you have asked me about the ginger because you're sensitive to it or it's too much for you. But honestly, like I said, I let this steep for about 5 minutes and the ginger is present, but it's not overpowering. It's not killing me right now. And plus, I love ginger anyway, so bring it. Oh, that's good. So yes, this tea is available in the Viridian Tea Company Etsy store. And I always post it to the video or at least to the channel itself. And if you can't seem to find it or you type it in incorrectly, you can send me an email address to teagoddess74@gmail.com. And that's not the letter T, that's T, T-E-A, goddess. All right, so I think that, one more thing I forgot to say. I did make a post about this through social media. One of the blends that I unfortunately decided to get rid of, I decided to bring back. So the Crew de Who blend, based after the Crew de Who organization in New Orleans that I'm very much a member of, I hope I'm still a member of that, is back in stock. And it is a blend of black tea, blueberries, and orange peel. It was one of my more popular blends, so if you have been craving a bag of Crew de Who tea, it's back in stock at the Viridian Tea Company's Etsy store. All right, so I think that's really it. I do have a new tea blend coming along the way. That's going to be probably next month or so. Still be on the lookout for the new Agnes Viridian tea blend and the tea blend to go along with my cyberpunk book Maven called Tea of the Synthetic. Those blends should be coming out probably around April. I like to kind of pace myself and give myself space. And the other tea blend will probably be out in May. And then I still have other tea blends with short stories that are going to be coming out probably this summer. Let's see, was there anything else? No, I think we're good. So let's end this with a nice breathing meditation. So get comfortable, either seated in your comfortable chair or couch, or lying down or standing up. And you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. And I think for this, I'm going to keep mine kind of focused on my teacup. So just soften your gaze and take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in this meditation, I just want to breathe. Leave all your cares and worries at the door and just breathe with me. All right, and to wrap up this breathing meditation, let's take one more deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And we're back. Thank you again, as always, for watching my videos. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you next Tuesday. But until then, hold your black cup high, enjoy your tea, and take care. Bye.